Hi everyone. Andrew Yang, right? From a skinny Asian kid living in New York to a transformative candidate for the presidency of the United States. I guess the biggest question now is why, right? Why choose Andrew Yang? I think the best way to address that question is tell you my why. From childhood, I would say that things were pretty rare. I mean, fair. At least it seemed that way. I was surrounded by people of all colors, of all classes, and people that identified in all different types of ways. Fast forward to flying the coop, transitioning to college, where I got to meet with a lot of different people and hear a lot of different opinions. And things seemed a little less fair. My undergraduate experience was riddled with bias, was riddled with prejudice, and was riddled with discrimination, unfortunately. I chose Andrew Yang because the guiding principle of his campaign is humanity first. Humanity first is what we need for America. Daisha Cole, a quirky black girl from the state of Florida, to now on a small stage with a big opportunity to introduce your next president of the United States, Andrew Yang.
Washington D.C. It is incredible to be here with you all. How many of you saw the CNN town hall last night? Yeah, the Yang Gang gets bigger every single day. And you all are what I call early adopters, my favorite kind of people. You're the people who discover things early, but the Yang Gang's about to go mainstream. Amen. Shadow of the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. And this is a time, I came here for the first time, I was in 8th grade. How many of you all had a trip to DC in 8th grade? It was like one of the first times you were going any place overnight with your classmates, you were all nervous, you were trying to find roommates, so to prove you had friends. And then they bring you here and you go to the Lincoln Memorial and it sinks in. Like even when you're young, you actually get it. You get the gravity of what the country went through, and then the man who helped bring us back together. I brought my family here to the Lincoln Memorial just a couple of months ago for President's Day. My kids are only 6 and 3, so I don't think that they got it, but they definitely did not get it. But we get it. Am I right? Now, this country is going through major problems, not like Civil War level problems, thank goodness, but serious problems nonetheless. Now, I am not a career politician, as most of you know. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a problem solver, and I want to solve the problem that many Americans have been struggling with for the past 2+ years, and the problem is this: why is Donald Trump our president? Now, if you go to the mainstream media and you say, hey, how did Donald Trump win in 2016? What are the explanations that you get? Why do they say that he won? Russia! Russia is number 1. What else they got? Racism. That'd be number 2. Sexism.
The Rust Belt.
Facebook. FBI. Like, these are the explanations that we're getting. But I looked at the numbers. The reason Donald Trump is our president, if you look at the numbers, I appreciate it, I love it. I love the math science, I love the math. It's make America think harder, am I right? Yeah! So if you look at the numbers, you see there's a straight line up between the adoption of industrial robots in a voting district and the movement to Donald Trump. president today is that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, Iowa, all the swing states that he needed to win and did win. How many of you are from one of those states? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And now my friends in Silicon Valley know full well that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we're now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and on through the economy. I don't know if that deserves applause. I know what you mean. I think you're agreeing with me. It's beautiful. Thank you, brother. How many of you all have noticed stores closing around where you live and work? And why are they closing? Amazon, that's right. Amazon's like a giant vacuum cleaner sucking up $20 billion in business every year. And stores could hang on for a while, but now 30% of American malls and Main Street stores are going to close in the next 4 years. Now, working as a retail cashier is the most common job in the United States. The average cashier is a 39-year-old woman making between $10 and $11 an hour. And what is that cashier going to do when her mall or store closes?
Get a dividend. Learn to code.
Vote for Andrew Yang, that's a possibility. How many of you saw the recent Google AI demo where they showed software that could handle customer service calls? You guys see that demo? Yeah. What do you think the time frame is on AI being able to outperform a call center worker? What do you guys think?
Literally tomorrow.
Literally tomorrow. Now, I know when you call a company and get their customer service bots, you react the exact same way I do, which is just to pound those keys until you get a human. You're like, human, shut up, human. I do the same thing. But we are only 3 years or so away of not being able to tell the difference between the bot and the human. In a few years, the bot's going to pick up the phone and be like, hey, how you doing? And they'd be like, oh, do this. And you're like, sure, no problem. You'd be like, oh, that was delightful. So we're about 3 years away from that, but there are 2.5 million call center workers in the United States right now making $14 an hour. And when AI can outperform one of them, it can outperform tens, hundreds of thousands of them. Now, I talk a lot about truckers. Driving a truck is the most common job in 29 states in this country. There are 3.5 million truck drivers, 94% men, average age 49. So the person you think of as a truck driver, that's actually a truck driver. Now, my friends in Silicon Valley are working on trucks that can drive themselves, and they're doing it for the most American of reasons. They're doing it for the money.
Yeah! Yeah!
Some people are screaming, yeah, money! I mean, I like money too. So there's $168 billion in financial incentives to try to automate away these 3.5 million truck driving jobs. Do you want to bet against $168 billion a year in financial incentives? They're getting hundreds of the smartest engineers in the country working on self-driving trucks, and they tell me that they're 5 to 10 years away. They're actually testing robot trucks in the Midwest right now. How do you think the truck drivers are going to take it when they start seeing robot trucks like passing them on the highways? There are dozens of truck drivers that recently protested in Indiana. They did something called a slow roll, which is they just drove their truck slowly while in a highway, and the cars behind them were like, what the heck is going on? Why are these trucks going so slow? Now, what were they protesting? They were protesting the digital monitoring of their driving time. They didn't like the fact that they were being digitally monitored, because right now there's a 14-hour restriction on driving a truck. After 14 hours, you have to turn the truck off when the truck starts getting mad at you. Now, how are they going to react when they're competing against robot trucks that never need to stop? I have a feeling that they're going to take it very, very poorly. And only 13% of truckers are unionized today. So we're talking about very, very dramatic transformations in our economy. And I came here to Washington, D.C. in 2017 after Donald Trump won. And I said, what are we going to do about the fact that we're in the midst of this fundamental transformation that brought us Donald Trump? This is called the fourth. This is before I was running, so they couldn't have said vote Yang. That's what you all are. So I came to this town, Washington, D.C., and I said, what are we going to do? And what do you all think the responses I got here in D.C. were. I said,
I don't know. Thoughts and prayers.
shout it out, go ahead.
Thoughts and prayers.
So the responses I got from Washington D.C. were these. Number one, we cannot talk about that. Boo. Number two, we should study that further. And number three, we must educate and retrain all Americans for the jobs of the future. So that one, you're like, wow, that sounds pretty reasonable. But again, I looked at the numbers. What do you all think the success rate was for federally funded retraining programs to the manufacturing workers?
Not that high.
It was 0 to 15%. That stuff does not work. And so then I said, hey guys, I did the math and we're terrible at it. They actually said to me, well, I guess we'll somehow get better at it. That's a Washington D.C. solution to a problem. I guess we'll get better. And there was one meeting I had, and I had a staffer with me, I had a colleague with me, and I thank God for it, because if I told you this and he wasn't there to verify, I'd be like, no way that happened, but it happened. He said to me, this official said to me, Andrew, you are in the wrong town. No one in this town is going to do anything about the problems that you described, because this town is a town of followers, not leaders. And the only way for us to do something about it is if you bring a wave crashing down on our heads. And that's the only way we'll wake up.
Oh, it's coming!
And I looked at that and I didn't say this, but I thought these two words, challenge accepted.
Yeah!
So now I'm running for president. How many of you saw that I'm polling at 3%? That's right, and most people have still never heard of Andrew Yang. When they find out about me, oh my gosh. The internet has me as 5th most likely to win the nomination, and we know the internet is very, very smart. So why is that? I'm proposing, as you heard, I'm proposing the freedom dividend, which is $1,000 a month for every American adult. Now, the first time you heard of that, what you thought was these three things. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. And all those three things are true. But at first when you heard them, you were like, this literally sounds fantastic. This sounds too good to be true. This almost sounds like a gimmick. But then when you look into our history, you realize this idea has been with us since the founding of this country. Thomas Paine was for it. At the founding, he called it the citizen's dividend. Martin Luther King, whose birthday we celebrate every year, was for it. He called it the guaranteed minimum income, and he championed it in the year 1967, the year before he was assassinated. Milton Friedman and 1,000 economists signed a study saying this would be tremendous for America. Well, Milton Friedman gets some applause. That's It was so mainstream that it passed the U.S. House of Representatives twice in 1971. And then 11 years later, one state adopted a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? Alaska! And how do they fund it? Oil! And what is the oil of the 21st century? Technology! Technology, that's right. What they're doing for Alaska with oil money, we can do for everyone here and everyone around the country with technology money.
Yeah, we can!
Oil check, and they love it, and we're going to call this the tech check. And with $1,000 a month, and I want you to think, what would you all do with $1,000 a month? Where would that money go? It would go to college for a lot of the young people here. We have to close the college down. Pay them loans. Amen. Pay off those debts, credit card bills. But it would say in your local communities, you would end up spending it on food, bills, health care, the occasional night out, and a lot of that would circulate over and over again in the towns and neighborhoods you live in. This is the trickle-up economy from people, families. here. And I will say, if the Democratic Party is going to talk about empowering women, we all know that there are millions of women around the country that are in abusive or exploitative jobs or relationships because they lack the economic freedom to walk away, and $1,000 a month would help that a great deal. Am I right? Yeah! We can either talk about empowering women or we can do something about it. So this is the freedom dividend. This is how we can build an economy that works for us. And there is nothing stopping the majority of citizens of a democracy in declaring ourselves a dividend. Nothing at all. We just need to wake up to that power that we have as Americans. And you all are going to help us wake up the rest of the country, and I thank you for that. So we can't stop there. The second thing is we have to get health care off of your backs. Now looking at you all, you're young, you're beautiful, a lot of you are in perfect health.
Thank you.
You don't understand where it's going to go. Where healthcare right now is this massive weight on millions of families and individuals, where if you get sick or injured, you're more stressed out about navigating our crazy labyrinth of a healthcare system than you are actually getting healthy or getting well. And that's messed up, that's immoral, we can change it. We can move towards a public option to make it so that if you get sick or injured in the richest and most advanced country in the world, you will not have to worry about your bills. I know that sounds too good to be true, but I've looked at the numbers. We spend 18% of our GDP to worse results than other countries. And so whenever anyone's looking around being like, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Are you kidding me? Like, I've run companies, and I'll tell you, we're spending a ton of money on health insurance. Because like when you're running a company, it's a disincentive to hire someone. It's a disincentive to change jobs. It's a disincentive to start a business. How many of you have wanted to change jobs or start a business, but then you were like, what am I going to do about my health care? How many of you have had that experience? Yeah, right here. Yeah, this is going to unleash the dynamism and the entrepreneurship of the American people to get health care off of our backs. And the third thing, I like to ask this question, how many of you get excited about GDP when you wake up in the morning? And I talk about my wife who's at home with our 2 young boys, one of whom is autistic. What is her work valued at in GDP every day? 0. What is the market value of her work at? 0. And we know that's nonsense. We know the work that she's doing is more important, more vital, more challenging than a lot of the other work that's being done in our country. So we're going to follow GDP right now off a cliff because self-driving trucks are going to be great for GDP, but they're going to be terrible for a lot of people. Yeah. So how do we shift to an economy that we'd actually be excited about? We have to change the measurements. So instead of GDP, this phantom number that we made up almost 100 years ago, and even the inventor of GDP said 3 things. He said, 1, this is a terrible measurement for national well-being, and we should never use it as that.